Okay, so a part of the end of the show that I like to do, I've started this thing called "Which One Is Better?" And basically, what it is I will present two things, and you and I will choose which one we find to be better. And that, like, yours could be different than mine. But we just talk about which one do we think is better.
Okay.
And one of the fun things about Alex is one of the pickiest eaters I have ever met. And I'm telling you, like, we're talking about picky. Like, what about this? And he's like, no, I'd rather just have a burger with fries.
I'll just
so
start.
so I thought it'd be funny to start with two things that I know you like, which is pizza or burgers.
Okay.
Which one is
Ooh.
better? This one is really hard for me because you basically, I mean, it comes down to the three greatest things like cheese, bread, and meat.
Right.
Like,
See? Like, who needs to adventure out when you have
right,
all
that's a
that
bliss
at your
point.
fingers? Yeah. I would say pizza. I'll go pizza.
Really?
I'll go pizza.
I am really shocked. I thought you were
I
for
can
sure gonna say burgers.
I can eat pizza whenever.
Man,
I can also eat burgers whenever, but I love
yeah.
a good pizza.
I love a good burger, especially like a specialty one. I
Yeah.
know you're not into
No.
specialty ones,
Yeah,
but
I don't know
but
where you're going with this, but
yeah,
it's not up
but
my
like
alley.
even like a even like a Tennessee burger, which is like a bar like a burger with barbecue sauce on it, but it has like bacon and like an onion ring and like that.
All
I'm
right.
into.
Yeah.
Or even like for you,
That
you wouldn't like this, but like a jalapeno like stuffed
no.
burger like that. That stuff slaps.
That's the devil's foot.
Especially like when you get like really good fries and some tater tots. Tater
Yep.
tots is
Yep.
what sets it apart for me. But I do agree with you. Like I feel like because I'm Italian, I have to say pizza.
Yeah. You got to
Like
go pizza.
I would be going against uh, uh, my heritage,
Yeah. Right.
at this point.
Right.
Like my grandma Filipina would roll over in her grave if I said burger.
Right.
So I'm definitely going
um,
pizza. And what's the best pizza you've ever had? I
hmm.
swear to God, if you say something like Domino's, I'm gonna like reach through the screen
You know
and
who
like
has
slap
good
you.
pizza though?
What?
Tutabella.
Oh yeah. They're
That
definitely
pizza is
top five
bomb.
best pizzas I've
Yeah.
ever had.
That stuff is so good.
Yes. And
I
they
would maybe
had
say that's mine.
yeah, they had this again, I can't remember if you liked this or not. I think it was too spicy for you.
Probably.
But one time I was there, Two DeBellas is that place that we were talking about earlier where I played a show and they had a view of the Space Needle and for New Year's and stuff. And they would give you like a free meal when you played there. And I was like, cool. So one time I asked the waitress, I played there like 3 years in a row for the New Year's thing. And so I asked the waitress, hey, what's your favorite pizza? And she goes, oh, it's this like angry bees pizza that we make. And it's got like pepperoni and it's a little bit spicy and like whatever. But she goes, but I've modified it with these couple of other things and I add a drizzle of honey and it's amazing. And I was like, that sounds kind of fire. Okay, hit me with that.
Right.
It was one of the best pizzas I've ever had in my entire life. It was so good. It literally hit the bliss points of like spicy, salty, sweet. It was perfect. Have never been able to get that pizza ever again because it's
Right.
her specialty pizza that she made. And I can't remember. How am I supposed to
Right.
remember a year later what it had? And they tried to remake it the next year, but I'm like, this is not what I remember it to be. The other really good pizza that I've had was there's a place in New Jersey, Rockaway, New Jersey. Okay, it's a small little town in New Jersey. And if you've heard of the Rockaway Mall, then you know where Rockaway is. But there's a place called Anthony's, and they have the best, one of the best pizzas I've ever had, still to this day.
Yeah.
And they've been there like we're talking like 50 years they've been there. I mean, they've been there a really long time. So anyways, if you're in New Jersey, go to Anthony's. It's amazing.
Side note for food though. Do you remember that gelato place in Vancouver that we went to?
Oh my gosh. You don't know, Lauren.
It,
I have to show Lauren this
yeah.
podcast now because I tell Lauren about this freaking gelato
I'm not
in,
kidding. It's the best thing ever.
oh, that, first of all, the taco place that we went to was
That
amazing.
was also bomb. That was
And which
so
was I was surprised
good.
you even liked because I was
Yeah.
like, I mean, you did get the most basic taco they
Right.
had, but
It
still, it
was
was
like fried chicken.
amazing. Right? Yeah, it was amazing. Then I don't know if a lot of people don't know this, but I'm like a Yelp Elite member. So I have uh basically been to so many restaurants and reviewed them that Yelp has now acknowledged me as an elite person on the app. Okay. So every time I would go somewhere on the road, I would look at Yelp and I got really good at determining what were the best places to eat in that city. Like if you find a place that has like 1,500 or more reviews and it's like four and a half stars, like
Right.
that place is gonna be banging. Like almost every single time. And so I find this gelato place on Yelp. And what was it called? It was like Bella Gelateria or
Something, yeah.
something like that. And so anyways, I find this thing. This place has over
Mhm,
4,000 reviews.
mhm.
4,000. I'm like, this place has to be amazing. Okay. So I'm like, Alex, let's go to this place. And he's like, okay, like whatever. So we go to this place. It is the longest line you've ever seen for a gelato place in your
Right.
life, right? So we're like, okay, well, maybe it'll go quick. Like maybe it's just because it's a small little corner spot and whatever. And so we stand in line 45 minutes.
It was a long
Okay.
time, yeah.
We were there for 40 minutes or 30, no, it was like 30-ish minutes. And we were like, should we just leave? Like
Right,
this is a really long time. But the problem was is we've been waiting one, we were like, well, we've already been waiting 30 minutes. But
right.
two, every time somebody came out of it, somebody would be like, it's worth the wait. You
Yeah.
gotta wait. It's worth this. So they were like
Right,
pumping you up, and you're like, dang, like 15 people have
right.
just come out of this place and said it's worth the wait. So,
Yep.
anyways, we get into this place and and I'm like, okay, I don't know what I want. So I'm gonna, I'm like a classic taster. Like I definitely want to taste all the flavors before deciding, right? And of course, I don't see that it says like you only get 3 tries. Like, so I am like super pumped to be there and I'm like, "Okay, what's your favorite ones?" And they say your favorite ones and I try them and I'm like, and I've already hit my 3 max. But I'm like, "Well, what about this one?" And like they're being so nice to me. They're like, and mind you, I have no idea that there's like a limit. Not that I'm trying to be annoying. I just really like all of them were amazing. So then I'm
Right.
like, I don't know which one to pick. So then they finally are like, well, we have this berry one that's
Mm.
seasonal that only happens during this season of time because in Canada, the berries are only ripe. And these 3 different kind of berries, right? It's like it was like blackberries, raspberries, whatever. But there
Yeah.
was one berry that was like a special kind of like berry, acai. No, I'm just kidding. And and so, anyways, they were like, you should try this one. I think you'd like this one. When I tell you, the
Mhm.
world stopped when I ate this gelato.
So
I mean, it was like a love affair at first sight. It was
good.
absolutely the best thing I have ever eaten, so much so that I have literally to this day have dreams about this gelato and I wake up upset because I realize it's a dream.
Yep.
It is
In Canada. Like,
amazing.
yep.
Vancouver, Canada. And I think it's called Bella
Yep.
Gelateria, but it's
So good.
but literally if you're in Vancouver, if you're in downtown, just go to Yelp and like
Mhm,
find the most popular one and I'm telling you that it's incredible. I
mhm.
hope it's still there.
It's gotta be.
I hope like
That place is
COVID
so
didn't knock it
popular.
out because I
Yeah,
would be so upset.
yeah.
That
It's
would
so good.
Oh man, and I
That
tell
was
Lauren about that place all the time and she laughs and I'm like, I'm telling you right
yeah,
now, like if I cuz she's wanting to move to LA, so I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll drive you down." I
yeah.
said, "But first things
We're
first, we're
going.
getting a pint of that gelato." That is the only thing I ask is that we get a pint of this gelato. That in a cactus.
Yeah, that place, that's what I was gonna
Oh,
say. When those 2 girls, they were like, "Oh, we're going here, like, you guys gotta come." And so we
yeah,
did, and that was
right.
such a good time.
Oh, that was such a good
That
time.
place was
So,
bomb.
yeah, some of the things that happen on tour is like you just meet the most random people and you can kind of tell most of the time like who's cool and who's not. And I don't mean like cool, I mean like who's not going to murder you and who's not kind of thing. And so these girls from Canada, they were at a show. They just stumbled into the bar that I was playing at and they're like, "Oh my god, you're amazing." And I had just finished and they were like, "We're going to this place called Cactus. Have you ever been to Cactus?" And I was like, "No, we haven't been." And they're like, "It's a staple in Canada. You have to go. It's like one of the most popular chain restaurants."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Okay, well, look, you don't need to tell me to eat.
Right.
Like, like, that's the fact." So, anyways, I tell Alex and Alex had met them when they were super nice. So we
Yeah.
ended up meeting them there. Cactus is amazing. It is
So
such a and it's a chain, so you would
right,
think that it's like, "Eh." No, it is so
right.
good. We had short ribs,
Yep.
amazing. Peach Bellini, amazing. Do you remember that peach Bellini? Oh my god. It was
Yeah,
so
we
freaking
are
good.
cruising through their menu.
Oh, man. We were cruising through the food in
Yeah.
Canada for sure. Oh god, it
Yep.
was so good. I
You
literally have eaten some of the best food in my life in Canada, which is crazy.
Do you remember those 2 girls that we met who then one of them came and played a show? Do you remember
Yes.
that?
Yes.
And then she was, like, going to, like, the Peace
She
Corps
was Peace
maybe?
Corps.
Yeah,
Peace
Peace Corps?
Corps. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yeah.
They were so great.
She was so talented.
Yeah.
And so
Savannah.
I what?
Susanna.
Susanna, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I played a little pop-up, like singer-songwriter night thing in Seattle, and, right after I played, I think it was like 2 people after me, this girl
Yeah.
Susanna plays, and she says something about going to Vancouver after this. So she plays her song and I'm like, "Who the frick is
Yeah.
this?" Like this
So
girl
good.
is amazing. She had this folk pop kind of cool thing going on, singer-songwriter thing going on. And her melodies and her word choices were just so unbelievably clever. So I just went up to her and kind of like gushed over her and then said, "Hey, I'm playing a show in Vancouver in 2 days, would you want to join? I'll
Yeah.
totally let you play like 3 or 4 songs if you swing by." And she goes, "Oh my god, that would be awesome." So, anyways, we end up kicking it with her. So nice. And I'm like, "So what are you
Yeah.
doing with this? Because you're one of the most talented peoples I've like peoples people I've ever met." And she goes, "Actually, I'm in 2 weeks going into the Peace Corps for
Yeah.
2 years." And I
She's
was
going to,
like,
like, Ecuador, I think.
"Yeah." And I was like, I mean, like that's like really nice and like you're being a good human, but also like this talent of yours is
Right.
like undeniable and you have to do something with it. And she actually is one of the people that really influenced my songwriting.
Mm.
I don't know if you knew this, but we were talking about songwriting. And I was like, how do you like the way she picked certain words? They didn't necessarily rhyme, but they were the right word.
Right.
And but the way she fit the melody into it was just like it felt right. Everything felt
Totally.
right about it, even though you were like typically you would want that word to rhyme.
Yeah.
And so she told me, she's like, "Well, I take like a very Bob Dylan approach to
Totally.
where I first figure out what I want to say and then I fit the melody around what I want to say." And it was such a different, especially at that time in my writing career, such a different way of thinking about writing. It
Right.
really changed a lot of things for me. Or
Yeah.
a lot of things for me.
Her EP still pops up on my phone sometimes when I'm shuffling through music, and it's
Yeah.
just so good.
Ugh.
Uh,
What was her last name? Do we know her last name?
I can find it. You should tag the EP.
Yeah, when you find her
Yeah.
if you can find her like handle or whatever, I'll tag her in this right now because she's truly amazing. And we haven't spoken in like forever.
Right.
Honestly,
This has been
since
Vancouver.
Canada.
Yeah, I talked to her
Yeah.
a couple times about booking some shows in Dallas because she was from Texas.
Oh, okay.
But that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
Um, so I'll find it and I'll send it to you.
Cool. Yeah, I'll definitely add her because she is
Great.
a present
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah.
I haven't heard her recent stuff, but honestly, she's so talented. And at this point, she should be out of the Peace Corps unless
Yeah.
she's
She's got to be
signed
back.
up. Yeah, she's got to
Yeah.
be back. Hopefully, my God, please
Right.
do something with music because you're
Right.
amazing.
Sing. Right.
But yeah, okay. Well, actually, okay. So this will be the last one then because we
All
just
right.
led into music.
All
And
right.
so, which one is better, country music or pop music?
Ooh, this is just rude to ask this.
Yeah, I
It's the disrespect that I put up with.
know.
I don't know. I
This
got
one's
like my.
really hard for you. This
This
one's
is hard
really,
for
really
me.
hard for you. I don't think
This
it's
is
as hard
hard.
for me because in my blood is pop.
Right.
I love country music.
Right.
Nothing against country music. I actually have been writing a ton of country recently,
Totally.
for an artist that you guys would not expect. But and I love country. I think country is so clever and Nashville's like obviously I lived in Nashville for 3
Yep.
years. Love the writing style in Nashville. It's honestly why I write the way I write today.
Right.
Um, but pop is just in my blood. And when I think back to the songs that like just changed and rocked my world, it was like Katy Perry Teenage Dream. I'm like, holy
Right.
crap, that album is like, what in the world?
Right.
So, everybody already knows what mine's gonna be, but what is yours gonna be? Because for you, you grew up kind of
I
country,
did.
kind of country.
I grew up in a small little town in Ferndale.
It's the
You know,
Southern Belle you are.
like our, you know, our barn and our house would have speakers, and like my dad
Yeah.
would play, you know, Garth Brooks and Kenny Chesney.
Yeah.
My mom would play like Faith Hill, Martina McBride.
Uh-huh.
But I
Shania
still
Twain. Shania Twain's a
I
big
playing
influence.
lots of Shania Twain.
I
My mom
freaking love
loves
Shania
her.
Twain.
I mean, my mom also is like, she'll always be like, I love hard rock. And I'm like, do you know?
Ooh.
Like, I don't really know about that.
So
But
sweet. I can't imagine her listening to hard rock.
she's always like, I'm a rocker. And I was like, okay.
I'm a
No.
rocker. You're like,
I
she's
was
like,
like,
you didn't
oh,
know me
yeah,
in my early days. You're like, all right, mom, I don't want to know
oh,
you from your early
trust
days.
me, she has tried. But I don't know. I feel like in my like adult life, right, pop music has been more influential. You know, between like working with you and then when I spent time at Warner, the majority of the artists kind of there that I would focus on were mostly pop. You know, like Dua Lipa when she was kind of getting developed there,
Oh,
and BB Rexa, and
yep.
kind of going through that process of, you know, being able to help a little bit on like that kind of setup. I would say that
Yeah.
pop music has been more influential.
Yeah.
I still love country music. You know, my phone and my music is filled with it, but I think in
Right.
terms of especially from like a, you know, stepping out of music a little bit, but like a creative approach
Yeah.
from a marketing standpoint.
Hmm.
Again, nothing against country. There's so much room that you can do to be creative. I
Right.
just
But how many times can you take a photo in front of a barn with a horse and a
right.
truck? It's
I
the
just
same
think
thing
that
over and over again.
more of like my creative outlet has been geared towards pop, you know, like
Yeah.
working on like album covers for you, or if we're doing
Yeah.
marketing stuff. I just think that more of it has been pop centric, which has
Sure.
probably been um more impactful for me. But
Sure.
I think that's some country music.
Yeah, I mean, again, I love country music. Like
Yeah,
country, I mean, Carrie Underwood was like a big influence of mine as well.
yeah,
I'm just thinking about like my vocal style and like belting and all of that stuff. It was so
right,
big back then. But I have to agree with you. Like pop is just in my blood.
right,
And it's just when I think about all the times in my life that music just like, oh, like this is why I want to do this.
right,
It was always like a pop song. It was
right.
always like even Dua Lipa. Dua,
Dude,
Dua
you see that
Lipa's
video?
yeah, even
Dude,
Dua Lipa is like a good example. Like her first like album that came out was just
uh,
crazy. And I know she had an EP and stuff before that, but her album that came out was like, whoa, who is this? And it didn't even pop off right away. That's what was so confusing
yeah,
about that album. It was like it popped off like 9 months later. I was so confused. Same thing with Tovlo. Like
yeah,
Tovlo's EP
totally.
album
Yep, so
blew
good.
my mind.
Yeah,
Completely blew
so
my
good.
mind. So I'm definitely right there with you. Well, all
Country.
right. That is living like a G with your girl G. Alex, thank you so much for coming on. I've said this
Ah,
to you so many times, but literally, I would not be where I am today without you. You have single-handedly got me to where I am in my career, and literally single-handedly because he's the only one that has to deal with all of this all the time and graciously deals with me all the time. But thank you so much for coming on here and taking even more time out of your life for me.
Of
I
course.
really appreciate it. And all the things.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that is Living Like a G. If you liked this video, please share it, subscribe, click the little thumbs up button, and we will see you next week. Peace.